Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this will be the Combat Series episode number 57 for you guys today. Of course, this episode is going to be coming out on all four of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into the first segment of the Combat Series this week. I'll be sharing my fight summary on last night's fight that took place in the sport of boxing between Jaron Ennis and David Avanesyan. So, we saw Jaron Ennis successfully retain his IBF welterweight championship in the sport of boxing last night, defeating David Avanesyan by fifth round technical knockout in the fifth round last night in the sport of boxing to successfully retain that IBF world title. Now, Jaron Ennis knocked out David Avanesyan in the fifth round with him retiring on the stool. While we were in the transition of waiting to be moved on to the sixth round, David Avanesyan and his corner decided that they did not want to come out before the sixth round began. So therefore, Jaron Ennis got awarded the technical knockout victory in the fifth round before the sixth round started last night in the sport of boxing. But my thoughts on this fight, man, in my opinion, Jaron Ennis looked very sharp in his victory against David Avanesyan last night in the sport of boxing. He looked pretty sharp, looked in pretty good shape, and it looked like it was a pretty good performance last night against David Avanesyan. And David Avanesyan's defense in the fifth round was probably the best round of the fight for him. He was putting together pretty good combinations, frustrating Jaron Ennis at times, but Jaron Ennis quickly responded towards the end of the fifth round when he hit David Avanesyan with a counter right hand that sent David Avanesyan to the canvas. And I was surprised he got back up after getting dropped by that really explosive counter punch that Jaron Ennis hit him with to send him to the canvas in the fifth round. But Jaron Ennis was very busy during this fight against David Avanesyan. He had a really good performance in his hometown of Philadelphia, performing in the 76ers and the Flyers home arena of the Wells Fargo Arena. He looked really good. I mean, he put together really strong combinations and a good amount of body shots during this fight. He outlanded David Avanesyan 152 punches to 53 punches in this fight. And the fight only lasted a total of 5 rounds. And he had a pretty strong performance in his homecoming last night in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'm really proud of Jaron Ennis' performance. I see a lot of fans, though. See, this is the thing with boxing, and I get it, it's a political sport, but come on now, we got to call a spade and call what it is. Jaron Ennis had a really sharp performance last night. But man, I seen on Twitter that people were talking about Jaron Ennis getting hit a lot of times last night in the sport of boxing. As I just read that, he landed 152 punches last night, and he got hit 53 times in 5 rounds. Yes, he got hit 53 times. But this is combat sports, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You're going to get hit in the sport of boxing. You have to, in order to be hit, to dish out your own punishment. That's what the knockout artists do. Gervonta Davis gets hit. Canelo Alvarez gets hit. You name the top, Arthur Beterbiev gets hit. You name the top knockout artists right now in the sport of boxing. Terrence Crawford himself gets hit. And look at that fight that Terrence Crawford had when he fought David Avanesyan. He was getting touched up too. So it's not like boxers are supposed to be untouched or they're supposed to be defensive fighters. No. Boxing and all of combat sports, hell, even in MMA, they get touched up. That is the name of the game. You're going to get hit. So I don't understand why people are criticizing Jaron Ennis' defense. I think he could polish up his defense just a tad bit. But to say that his performance was bad because he got hit 53 times is unacceptable and unreasonable. So I thought Jaron Ennis looked pretty sharp, and those people out there who said that on Twitter, to me, have to be some diehard Terrence Crawford fans. And there's nothing wrong with that, but don't take away what Jaron Ennis did last night. It was pretty impressive last night in the sport of boxing. I don't think we should take anything away from Jaron Ennis' victory over David Avanesyan in any particular way. But shout out to Eddie Hearns. Eddie Hearns, who is obviously in control of Matchroom Boxing, is obviously Jaron Ennis' promoter at this particular point in his career. Eddie Hearn struck gold when he signed Jaron Ennis earlier in the year. And a few months ago when he signed him, he promised him in his first fight on the contract deal that he would give him a homecoming fight for him to defend his IBF world title and in front of his hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And he delivered on his promise. And basically, Eddie Hearns banked on himself and his promise because he gave Jaron Ennis what he wanted. He did very well. The gate numbers are probably going to come out pretty well for Jaron Ennis. It looked like he sold out the Wells Fargo Arena last night in Philadelphia. And that's pretty good because you're seeing that he could sell. And Jaron Ennis is already a knockout artist in his own right. 29 knockouts now, 31-0 now. So this is pretty good to a rising star in the sport of boxing. And I think with Eddie Hearns controlling Jaron Ennis' career moving forward, Eddie Hearns can put him and Jaron Ennis in the driver's seat to get those big-time fights that he's looking for, to be that main attraction in the sport of boxing, be the next big star in the sport of boxing. And I think Jaron Ennis has the right promoter by his side, and Eddie Hearns, someone that believes in him, believes in his ability, believes in his marketing skills. I think there's going to be a really good combination that works together, a really good partnership between Jaron Ennis and Eddie Hearns moving forward. So with that being said, what is next for Jaron Ennis? Now, the question is here, are we going to get Jaron Ennis versus Terrence Crawford soon? I don't know if we will or not, but it's going to have to take place at 154. So if Jaron Ennis doesn't move up to 154 to fight Terrence Crawford next, which I think could be one of the best fights that we could get in the sport of boxing between Boots and Crawford. If not, Manny Pacquiao, you're 45 years of age plus. Step to the side. Devin Haney, you could possibly be in line for to fight this next guy if you move up to 147. But I need you to step to the side. I need to see Jaron Ennis versus Mario Barrios and a title unification fight with the WBC and the IBF world titles on the line if we do not get Terrence Crawford versus Jaron Ennis next at 154. I think that could be a fun title unification fight at 147 between Jaron Ennis and Mario Barrios. We have Jaron Ennis' power and his boxing IQ, his boxing skills, getting in the ring against Mario Barrios, who is not he's a tough cookie to crack. I mean, he's pretty good in the boxing ring as well, possesses power. Gave Gervonta Davis his toughest fight of Gervonta Davis's respective career thus far, in my opinion. He went the distance with Keith Thurman in a losing effort, but then in his debut at 147, took Ugas to the limit. I mean, I should say in his second fight, took Ugas to the limit and defeated the former world champion in dominating fashion. I mean, I think that's a fun title unification fight. The welterweight division right now is pretty. It's in a rebuilding stage, I would say. I mean, with the likes of Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence moving up to 154, obviously. So there's a lot of question marks to be answered at 147. But I think that would be a great, incredible fight for Jaron Ennis next. If we don't get him and Crawford at 154 next, give me Mario Barrios versus Jaron Ennis in a title unification next at the welterweight division. Or let me see Jaron Ennis versus Conor Benn for the IBF world title by the end of 2024 if Crawford is not next on the list. But those are my thoughts on Jaron Ennis versus David Avanesyan. That is my fight summary for the fight that took place last night in the sport of boxing.